I love paintings at this stage. They always have so much potential, and then I scare myself with them later. But this one has been pressed. So I got it wet on the back and put it between the sheetrock, and it's just very soft and lovely, and you can see the line drawing. Okay, what we're going to do here next is we're very softly going to put in these areas that have that are pinker than any of the other areas. There's a little extra pinkness on the cheeks. This thumb is very pink. And then I want you to look at this part of the finger. Now, it's got different levels of value in it, but I just want you to look at this pink right here. And what we're going to do, let's see if this will, yeah, okay, that kind of encompasses it. So you can see there's a lot of pink there. And it's a dulled down pink. First thing we're going to use is we're going to use Quin Coral, and we're going to put in a light wash of pink in some of these areas. And so you can see where the nail here is. This is pink too, where she's pressing her finger down. And then there you can see the blood flow is lessened because of the pressure. This tells you that that finger is pressing down really hard. Besides this little bend right here in the finger, that also tells you that. You see this little bend here and this little light spot there, kind of a pale yellow-ish. Not yellow, but it's got a more yellow cast. Even this one's got that little bend to it. So we're going to put, what I want you to notice is that the nail is not separate from this. The pink flows through all this, and that's what we're going to put in. We're going to put in a, still a light value of pink, but we're going to influence these with pink. And this one, I would like to make a little stronger pink, just because not only is it a stronger pink, but that's going to give us something that helps us gauge our other color as we begin to build this up. There's some really strong pink. There's some really strong pink over here too. So that's what I'm going to do first. So that's going to involve pre-wetting some areas. Let's start out on the fingers, and if you want to too, you might just warm up on a little on a little scrap and do this a time or two. Why don't I just do that? Okay, this is 140 pound, but so it won't work quite the same way, but it'll be close enough. So you can see I've got quite a bit of water down here, and that I have forgotten to bring my paper towels over, so I'm going to pick up the wrong kind. Don't do that, but this one is pretty absorbent. By the way, it's getting very hard to find Viva paper towels right now. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of just Quin Coral. Let's just drop some in there and see what happens. And remember that you can manipulate this. I could take some of the extra water out, but the tip is still moist. And I can tell it, maybe I want to do this. It's going to get paler when I do this because the brush is still going to soak up some of the color. But see, that lets me manipulate it a little bit. So that's the way I'm going to be working on here. Let's see if I can get this where you can see all of this at the same time. There's an area right here under the eye that's extra pink too. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my water up to the edge of the eyeball and the edge of the nose, but then out this way I'm just going to spread it further than I want the color to come, because I want a crisp edge here and here, but I want it to be soft out this way. Okay, so let's try this. I'm just putting a little bit of color on the tip here. I'm not immersing the brush to flood. So it's a lot stronger and darker right here. And this will be pinker than what we want this to wind up. as. You know, there's even a little bit of pink out this way. Maybe I'll pull a little out there. Do that with my brush. And then I'll just talk to it very nicely. You know, you can talk to her if you want to. You can tell her how pretty she is and, you know, all that stuff. I used to talk to these when I did them. You know, there's, I wish I shouldn't do it this way. There's a little extra pink right over this part of the top of the nose right here. And that's not pre-wet. Let's see what I can do with that, because this is still pretty dry weather. So that makes a difference in what you can make happen. So now I've pulled it all the way down here. Let's soften this a little bit. And I can't be letting water down with my brush here. I'm only pulling color up. I'm not letting color down. It has to be just the right concentration of water on the brush. But you've still got water on the brush. Just not much. All right. There. Okay, now we need to leave that spot alone entirely. Let's skip down here to the thumb. That's one of the ones that's going to get a lot of color, so maybe we could just go ahead, and I'm looking to see if that's on the page. Okay. So I'm going to wet the whole thumb, or close to the edges. Remember, you can pull that color out to the edges, and I'm getting it wet enough that it's going to stay shiny while I start to work on it, but not so much that it's just going to flood everywhere. It's a careful amount of water. I wish I could show you the sheen on it, but it does have sheen, but it's not bubbled up by any means. So then here's the most intense part of the color. Let's put a little more than that on. Let's get this a little stronger. Whoa. Well, that looks really strong right now, but you've got to remember that we're working against really, really light color everywhere else. All right, so I have done something like that. I'm going to wash my brush off. And let's pull this up. And just, there's a little more red in here than that. Oh, I'm trying to pull it out, not kill it off. There's a little more pink in the whole thumb. And I don't have it quite as strong as I want it. It's okay, I can add more later. It's better to stop than to keep messing with it. Well, I would like just a little bit more right there. And I can do that as long as this is still pretty damp. Okay. Now let's go to another area. So let's look at this spot right here. Now see, that's brownish, but there's some pink to it. And I shouldn't have used the word brownish, but it's more muted. Let's say it's very muted, but it has a reddish tint. I'm going to put just a little bit of reddish tint in here. all this area's got quite a bit of reddishness in it. And comes out over here like this. See that little shape there? Look for it on your photo. Let's make all these outer edges pretty soft. And I think right here I'm going to try to remove just a little of it. That's a nice start. Okay, so we're going to need pinks, lots of pinks in here, but those are wet right now. So we're going to leave that alone. We could use a tiny bit. See that area right there above the brow? I'm going to put just the tiniest bit of pink right in here. Now, one thing that I might suggest before you start this, which I could have mentioned before, you can have some of this other color move on you. If you pressed it, got it wet and pressed it overnight, it's probably not going to, but if you didn't, you could spritz this with water and let the water set on it while it's dry, before you start painting. Let the water sink in, you know, and leave it alone. Then dry it really hard, and then you can start doing what we're doing here. Sometimes when you get these areas out in here wet, you'll get a little bit of a line where the water came to, because some of the paint on the surface is moved. But if you've kind of pre-wetted it and let that soaked in once, it will probably prevent that from happening. All right, so we're going to come over here on the ear. And it's a good idea to get this ear with some color in it now, because it's going to help us separate it from the hair. And there's some obvious areas where I didn't put masking on this. You know, I'm going to regret that. It's quite a change of pace. I've been totally engrossed in this series on YouTube about a serial killer. Oh, this is so nice to be doing. So I just want a little bit of pink in here. I might have not even put the pink down in this area, except I'm trying to kind of find the ear. I want to soften the top of this, and I didn't mean for that to flow, but it's no big deal. There and here, we're just making the tip of our little ear pinker again so we can find it. It's just helping us later. See, now this has nothing to do with ear. This is a hair coming along here, which is terribly confusing. If I had to do over again, I would leave that hair off just to keep from creating so much confusion. Okay, let's do this finger. So I'm going to wet the whole finger. All right. And it's this area right here. Kind of comes across this way, and there's just a tiny bit on the knuckle. I want to make that clean, kind of a clean break there at the knuckle, but it's still soft. I want to keep it soft. And then right here, going to just clean up those edges, and by clean them up, it's not a sharp edge, it's a very soft edge. You have to keep these on young children. You've got to have a lot of soft edges, and if you don't, you just age the heck out of them and it just all goes south. Okay, so now we need to now you know what, I'm not going to skip this finger. In fact, I'm going to do these two fingers together. And then I'll come back and do the knuckles later. This is just a matter of choice. I mean, you don't have to do it in the order I'm doing it. I suggest that the technique is probably the most user-friendly way to do this, and particularly on children. That's really important. So here I'm picking up, that's fairly strong color there. So there's this little, oops, bend across here. Actually, there's some pink over there too. And then there's, I'm studying it real carefully for the shape of the pinks. Let's do that. Ooh, I got it wet outside the thing. All right, now same thing. Doing this over and over again. Now let's just talk to it and soften it, and I'm going to try to keep that from getting too red right there. It's going to try to bleed out because I messed up. Wash my brush off again. I've actually got a ceiling fan on right now, and this is still working out. But I'd be cautious about a ceiling fan. And see, there's a lot of pink between these fingers. There, maybe I'll pull just a little bit up into there. Like the beginnings of that shadow. There, that's nice. Well, then we can go on to the little pinky. Let's look at the pinky. Yeah, okay. Let's just get all that wet, and I'm going to get it wet up there. Just makes kind of a curve on all of them going this way, a little U shape. This, the pinky, and is turned down more, and we are seeing, we're not seeing much of that white tip. In fact, we're seeing none of it from pressure, but it's there. Well, that line right there is just too strong. Let's soften that. Let's work with this. I think I got a little too much water on my brush here. If when you touch the brush down you can see water flooding it at all, then you've got too much water on the brush. And see, you can't always tell. The thing is watching what's happening and knowing how to adjust it. That's the important thing. All right, that's very good. Now let's go here. I'm going to wet this whole area right here up to the finger line. Say the forefinger, this part of the finger. I'm not getting wet. I'm wetting it right up to there and up through this crease some. I think I almost have too much water down there. Now, it's a little too wet. Here. So see, I don't get just the right amount of water on my brush all the time. I have to know to adjust it. And to do that, I have to be watching how this is going to act. Now, I'm going to come back and get these knuckles in a minute. Let's go back over this way and work on this hand. And I will point out to you again, this has that coolness there, but there's also quite a bit of pink in it. I haven't decided how I'm going to handle that yet. We're probably going to pink it up some too in a minute. I have to think. I have to look and think. And here's the thing. Do not let your hand get ahead of your brain. Spend some time stopping and thinking. That's almost doing exactly what I want without my even touching it, going back over it. You know, sometimes you just get lucky. And here, I've taken this, I'm going to stop the painting right there. All of this out here can be confusing to look at, but I know that I have got more pink right here in the fingertips in case you want to do this. I'm just going to add some more color right there on the tips. This is not going to get detail in it, but it's going to be a suggestion of the fingertips. So again, let's do that. So watch out for too much water. Okay, now we're back up here. This should be dry enough that I can work some other places. We need other pinks. Well, we need a lot of other pinks. We need pink on the tip of the nose and right here, and quite a bit through this cheek. This is not going to be all of the pinks by any means. I don't want you to get that idea, but this is these are the places that have got more pink than any of the other places. And the idea of putting this on separately like this, I'm going to get all this wet. The idea of putting this on separately like this is because we get much more beautiful color if we layer these in separately. Now, it's different if you're working with other mediums, but when you're working with watercolor, it can go really dull, and this is the way to get that luminous skin quality, which is something that makes me happy when I get that. So I'm a little stuck with it. So all of this is going to have some pink in it. Let's come up here to the eye. And soften the edges. You know, if you don't get this perfectly, it's okay. The main thing is to keep it soft and smooth, because you can always go back and add when it's dry. One of the reasons for putting that pink down as strong as I did was to encourage me to get more pinks down in other places. This is still not too strong here. She has a little highlight on her nose, but that's all still going to have pinks in it. We are just putting in some beginnings. I think we're going to want a little bit in the forehead. So, I'm going to layer in water, and this time I'm going for a lot of water. And a little of this will get in the hair. It'll be okay. And just a little bit of pink that I'm going to spread around. I think I want, just looking at her, I think I want a little more pink right here. And rather than just spending time watching, going by what I do, I would suggest that you spend some time studying your photo and looking for where these pinks occur. And I have done quite a bit of that. I've probably spent a good 30 minutes or more studying this picture. In fact, I bet it was more like an hour off and on, not all at once, studying this picture, thinking about where I would put color, looking at what was there and thinking about how I might want to do it before I ever started it. The inside of that eye is just too glaring. I'm going to put the tiniest little amount of pink into it. There. Over here, I think we're okay. Maybe I'll put a little bit. Okay. Oh, the knuckles. Here. And here, this is not so much at the bend of the knuckle. It's a little high. There's some, and then there's a little bit right here. That also doesn't follow it's on the bend of the knuckle, but it's not shadowed. This is local skin color. It is not color that's caused by a shadow. And all of it's a little bit to the right, to our right, not hers. So when I talk, I'll talk about our right or left, not her right or left. Okay? I'll try to remember to say our. Maybe that'll make it easier. Okay. Okay, I am quite pleased with this. Now I'm going to take a break. I'm going to let that really soak in. I'm not going to blow dry it. I'm going to let it have time to merge with the paper so it'll be more cooperative. Whoops, I see a place I wanted to. Right here, this little sort of triangle that comes right in there. Again, if you can't see the photo on the very well on the video, that's okay, because you need to spend time looking closely at your copy and studying it. Don't just go by what you see on the video. If we were in class, you wouldn't just be going by what you were watching on the video. You would be studying what you had in front of you, because you wouldn't have this detailed of a video. This video is so detailed that some people are trying to just follow it step by step, and that's an impossible way to work. I would never try to work that way. Oh, you know what? I see another place right here. See that little light area I left there? And it actually gets a little bit darker right here, although not, it doesn't look pinker. It looks almost blue. But I'm going to put the tiniest bit, again, just like I did on the eye, tiniest little bit of pink into here. There is an undertone of pink through the whole thing. Okay, right there. Now, I'm going to let it sit, and I want you to do the same thing and then come back in a little bit. Okay, so Sophie and I are back from a nice long walk, and this has been drying. So it's ready for something more. Now, this isn't by any means all the red that I'm going to put in here. In fact, I'd like to go ahead and put a little more red right in there and under the nose and some stuff, but I'm not going to do that. I've got another step, and then we'll back off and look at it. So, here is my Quin Coral. Make sure that's showing up. Yeah, okay. And here's my Naples Yellow. I've got more coral than yellow, so I'm going to put some of my coral over into the yellow. Meanwhile, I'm contaminating my coral with some of the yellow. So, oh, that's kind of light. It's you know, it's very peachy, creamy. And by that I meant creamy color. And that's because of the white that's in the Naples. Now, what we're going to do, we've got, I believe it was cerulean over here. We're going to take the tiniest bit of cerulean. We want to kind of mute this a little bit. Well, you know, when these colors are mixed together, that they're going to look a lot duller. And where we go into the shadow areas, we want more of a dullness. Things are not brighter in the shadows. And when you make something brighter in the shadows by using the wrong color and going darker with the wrong color, the wrong mix, and it turns out brighter, it doesn't ever read right. Okay, so I've got this. I'm going to try, and I don't even know if I'm going to use this mixture. We'll see. See what little bit of blue I picked up right there? I believe that's enough. I think I want a little more pink in it. I'm trying to just push it over the edge here. I think that might just do. Maybe a touch more blue. Just a nibble there. Okay. Let's see what that looks like. So, let's try it somewhere. Okay. I'm going to try. Okay, let's darken this little area right there under the eye first. Let's see what that does to it. It's really a pretty small spot. I'm going to get it wet further on out, but it's really a small spot. And I've lost some shape in here. That'll come in later with a little brush. Okay, let's pick up a little of this. See, it still looks like a pretty strong, bright color, but remember, this is wet. And when it dries, we're going to find out. So, just soften that. I don't know if that's going to be dull enough, but we'll go ahead and use it for a while. Let's put some right up here. So you're still watching instead of doing, and so that's good because I may have to back up. So I'm going over kind of the same place that I was with the red here in this particular area. Oh, oops, wrong place. Go over to this. I'm going to put a little bit in here. So a little darker right in under there. And the detail I'll darken with a smaller brush and a different mix later. So she's got a little darker area right there. See that little spot right there? I think we could put a little bit in here. Remember we had that little corner, that little triangle? I'm just going to get it wet out here. I didn't even get it wet right there in that area of the triangle, the point. And so I'm going to, Sophie, not again. Okay, so we're going to let that dry. And I want to let it dry naturally, and then I want to see what it looks like. Okay, I've decided to go with this mix. However, I'm only going to use it on a few areas. And then I'm going to come back with something that doesn't have the Naples yellow in it. Here's a nice thing about Naples yellow. It's got some white in it, so it's easier to work with. It makes the whole mixture easier to spread and control. But at the same time, you know, it keeps the mixture light because it's got white in it. Okay, and cerulean. Cerulean is opaque and kind of light colored too. So, of course, there's not much cerulean in this. So I am wetting down the whole forehead and into the hair, right here. And I'm just going to put a little bit of shape with our same mix into, so some of these areas, that hair is going to kind of blend with this. You're not going to know quite what's hair and what's skin. In some places even. So let's just soften these edges. Out here in the hair I can be a little freer with it, but then here I want to pull some of that color. Maybe I need just a little more color. Pull some color into here. Okay. And I'm kind of going over this area too. I got it wet again. So right there, I think we can put a little bit down in through here too. There's a little lighter area right in through there. And we might just keep it lighter. My dog is yanking on a blanket down here, making a problem. Whoops, that's a little bit strong right there. Let's pull it on out. There we go. See, no problem at all. I don't want much on the cheek because this is a little duller and I want more pure color on the larger areas of skin where it really makes a difference in giving it that skin look. Okay, right there. Now I'm just wetting this area. Sophie, take your blanket. How on earth did you do this? Sorry. So let's put some color right in under here. And see, that's drifting and spreading. Right there. So what I'm going to do and up under here is a lighter, much lighter, so I'm going to pull up some of the color, and it's quite agreeable to this, and that Naples makes it easier. I think I'll take a little bit of this. See, I've got some pure Queen Coral there. I'm going to go ahead and put some more color in this area right in here. And there's a little lighter area right there. Looks like reflected light up under her face, that little spot right there. So I'm going to start paying attention to that and keeping that lighter. Okay, so let's put a little bit on some of these other areas. I put some on the thumb. I think I did that off camera. Her knuckles are definitely not as pink as these other areas. I've got a hard edge here, but see how weak it is? And because that's coral, I could probably just do that and make it pretty much disappear. Okay, let's just, I tell you what let's do. Let's just wet down all of that. And I'm only going to touch in a little bit of this color. Still going kind of to our right on the knuckles. And then up here on this knuckle, the color's different. So I think I'll leave that alone. So see, I got these three little starburst things going on here. Let's just gently. You know, that dog is back doing the same thing all over again. I don't know what her problem is. Let's also put some on this, the tip of this finger. And right there. Oops. Just let's see, so right there, can't do much else with that. We could put a little bit, see these knuckles that are kind of flexed backwards right now? They've got a little more yellow to them. So right here and here and there. And I accidentally let down a lot of water. More than I meant to. So right now we're still more about distributing color than making a lot of shape. We're making a little bit of shape. So I'm still dipping into this stuff. Okay. So this is not the pink part. And I'm not covering up the pink with it. I mean, I'm overlapping part of the pink. Okay, up under here for sure. And if you, you know, you can refer to your copy where you can get a good look at it. If you try to see it on camera, it's not going to show up that well for you anyway. And I want you to spend some time with your photo studying it. Don't just dive in and do this, you know. Get your brain working before your fingers get in motion. And your wrist. Okay. So let's come over here to this area. I guess I should pre-wet it. I'm just going to pre-wet this area right along here. I'm going to leave this dry down here because this is going to need to get a whole lot darker, and we might as well start now by getting a lot of color right there. So that color is going to go on stronger because it's dry. And then we're going to have color coming up under here and on the tip of the thumb. Like that. And then it gets soft edged up here because it hits the water. There. Okay. You could do a little bit more shaping with this if you want. Do not overshape with this. We're going to switch mixtures. So this is one where it's really not a good idea to get out ahead of me on this. And I know that some of you really want to, but please don't. You'll be sending me pictures wanting to know how to fix it, and I won't be able to tell you because you'll have gone too far. Okay, there we are. Yeah, see, I'm leaving that area light. I'm leaving the backs of the hands light. We're going to put in something different there. Don't know what yet. Forgot to show you what she looks like. Here's what she looks like so far. There's the other hand. She's got 3 layers of skin tone on her already. Okay, stop there.